It's really important.
Is your attorney on staff or a paid consultant?
So there's a lot of ways if you're early stage, there's a lot of law firms that specialize in startups, and so they'll bring you on, give you a certain amount of, they'll basically say, hey, we're going to give you this to be your attorney, so you have a certain amount of runway of legal, of basically legal help that you can get from them. And then after that, it goes to an hourly type of thing, and that's where we are now. But I mean, I cannot stress the importance of having a good attorney, especially for yourself. Even if you're working with partners, your best friends, whoever it is, make sure you have a good attorney for your own doings, because there's a lot of little simple terms that could slip through that could potentially change your entire, the outcome of the company in terms of, your stake in it, how you feel about it, your peace of mind, things like that. So get a good attorney.
I got a quick question.
Yeah.
What kind of personal adjustments did you have to make across this path that you've done in the past 17 months, which has been probably a skyrocket, phenomenal. So congrats again on that. But how have you been able to adjust to that? Because at the beginning it's your baby, and now you're sharing it with partners, which you can get over because they're part of the team.
Sure.
And now you're selling your soul to the angel investors, and you hope that the devil doesn't collect at all. And so, I mean, how did you deal with that aspect, and how this whirlwinds happen? How have you dealt with that personally? What did you do to say, okay, keep on track? Remember my flag that's on the island, it's my island. People may own a lot of it, and my little pie is still this big, though. How did you come to terms with that?
Well, so when we started, we wanted to go to the moon, right? And to go to the moon means you need a rocket. And most people don't have rockets laying around that can get them to the moon, right? So going in, our goal is to get here. We know we can't get it on our own. We need fuel, right? Or we need, we need this rocket. And so you just accept the fact of what is to come. The expectations, and I can kind of talk about what like early stage vesting looks like, even post Series A, like what you'd expect to see. A CEO that came in early might have a maximum, this kind of industry standards, of about 10% of the company on the high end, right? So they came in on the seed, post Series A, they expect to have about 10%, right? Which is a lot, right? If Eric Schmidt had 10% of Google, I mean, he is an extremely wealthy man as it is, but I doubt he was over 1%, right? Because Google is what it is. Going down the tree, your C-levels are going to be in the 5% range, your VPs are going to be around 2%, your directors are going to be 1 point or less, right? In terms of, what, the entire equity pool looks like. Your founders are going to have equal equity stake to an angel, and your venture capitalists after the Series A is going to be the majority shareholder in terms of who has the largest stake in the pie. And so that's the rocket, right? So that's what you get in return, right? You have your rocket and you can go to the moon. But to keep sanity is, part of it's being able to step aside when a leader's coming through, right? So hiring someone that's smarter than you, better than you, like I hired my boss technically, right? Like my boss wasn't there as we built the company. Now he is, and now I report to him, right? But that's the mindset you have to have if you want to win. I think there's some sort of, I can't remember, it's like an old military quote about leadership, and it's the guy that's willing to work the hardest without and not need any credit is like the type of guy you want on your team or in your troop. And so that's kind of how we pride ourselves, is that we know that as a whole, as a team, we can achieve a lot more working together. And it's not just about me, and it's not about my co-founders anymore. It's like a family, right? Like we're all vested in this. We're all early stage too, so everyone owns a portion of the company. Everyone's vested. Everyone's incentivized, right? I'm incentivized. Vesting. A typical vesting schedule is a 4-year vest, meaning that the shares that I have are actually, I don't own them. Most of them, I'm still vesting, so I'm only 17 months into my 4-year vest. So over the course of 4 years, that's basically I'm investing my equity. So I have an incentive to stick around. I have an incentive to do a good job. I have an incentive to get to the end of the rainbow or across the finish line. And everybody does in a startup. You want to make sure that everything you do in terms of how you structure your company is so that you can incentivize everybody to win, right? Because what you don't want to do is say, hey, you know what you're doing, here's some equity, right? And they have no reason to perform, right? And so that's why vesting is typical four-year vest, 1 year cliff, meaning that you don't vest at all until you hit the 1 year, then it retroactively, basically you get your options for the first year. Anyways, it's all about incentivizing people. And so this insanity of the startup, and it's funny you mentioned this, because sometimes it can be like an airplane ride, like where you'll go through these moments of like this smooth air into sheer terror, right? Where it's just like, what happened? Like, what are we, the turbulence, like the up and down of the startup life. It's not for everybody. I think there's easier ways to make money. But at the end of the day, you have to have a passion for what you're doing. You have to, whatever problem you're trying to solve and the product that you've created to solve that problem, you have to believe in it. And for me, I've had a lot of fun. The last 17 months have been the best 17 months of my life. I traveled 122,000 miles domestic last year. I did 22 weeks in New York. I think I spent more nights in a hotel or someone else's bed than my own bed. Very tired, like at all times, but you just get used to it. 3 to 4 hours of sleep at night is something you become accustomed to, and then I'll sleep like 16 hours on a Saturday. Okay, look forward to that. It's coming. But it's a dream come true, and there's still a lot of work to be done. There's a lot of work right now. I mean, I only slept a couple hours last night. We've been dealing with the press, which is obviously a blessing. But it's to go from me and 3 guys at a kitchen table to this. There's a lot of people there that has great jobs. They're at a really hot company. We already have employees that have been hired by Twitter. So to create something that's improving the lives of others, it's adding to the community, that's creating economic stimulus, and it's I mean, this is what entrepreneurship's about.
That's kind of random, but do you see your company as becoming a global endorser?
Yeah, we're actually
like a Singaporean basketball player says, I just ate at this restaurant, it rocks. And
if we get there, that means the network is pretty huge. It's UK next. That's where we're going.
What company was it? It was it eBay that waited to go into China, and then Baidu started in China.
Yeah.
And that's, talk about just a hilarious boardroom mistake. Like, how did they not think of that?
I mean, it's hindsight's always 20/20, but first mover isn't always the best thing you can do in business. Right, we actually had 3 or 4 first movers that were in our industry first, who are no longer in business anymore. And it goes back to that idea, like that they matter, but execution is more important. And we just out executed. And they even came to us and said, hey, we're closing up shop. Are you guys interested in buying us? And so we looked at the skeleton and just moved on, right? But kind of feels good to do that.
Were there any skeletons? Did you buy anybody?
No, we didn't buy anybody. But in terms of first mover, if you look at Yahoo, if you look at Overture, that were first movers in paid search. Google came last, and they did it best. So it could go either way. Like, I'm sure eBay had plenty of reasons why not to go there, and why the other company beat them. Who knows? I don't necessarily believe in that a first mover effect is any advantage whatsoever.
When do you stop taking the VC loan? Do you ever do that? Do you just say, okay, I'm profitable now, making enough money?
Oh yeah, once you start,
nobody else can come in.
Right now in media, in internet advertising, profitable companies are hard to come by. Like, if you can get into the black, that is something special right now. There's 360 ad networks out there. I don't know many of them that are profitable because no one's buying them. And typically, if you're kicking off cash, someone's going to come buy you. And there's a lot of money out there right now, especially in private equity, to buy these companies. But we haven't had a single exit in 16 months from an ad network standpoint. But what we do have...
This is like ad mobs.
Exactly. You have ad mobs that are these new sectors like mobile, social, right? Look at Twitter's valuation, 3.4 billion, 4.5 billion now. right? And that's an emotional valuation, right?